Hey guys, it's your boy Willie Lane, the sickest in the game, and this is my first hard drive that I ever bought. First SSD that I ever bought, sorry. I bought it back in like 2011, maybe 2010, and I remember it being a big chunk of change. It was like pocket money plus like birthday money. It was huge at the time. But I was looking to speed up my laptop, and this was what everyone on YouTube was talking about, so I ended up getting one. Yeah, I'm just curious to see what it looks like inside. I just recently pulled this out of a system, so, I've been using it since, for 10 years now. It's pretty crazy. And yeah, I was just wondering just now if it's, because the system I pulled this out of was running pretty slowly. I'm wondering if this was the culprit of it. If it really has degraded performance over the years, or if it's just nostalgia glasses and this is how it always performed. Anyways, I was just curious to see what was inside, because it's actually very, very heavy. It's a heavy boy. Compared to like SSDs you get nowadays, they're just like maybe the PCB is like this part of it, and this is just like a thin metal shell. This is actually quite thick metal, and it feels like there's an entire board inside. Like if I balance it on my finger, it's weight throughout the whole thing. So yeah, I was just really curious to see what's inside it. So I'm just gonna go ahead and take it apart now. Oh. These hex heads are pretty tight, actually. See, I actually pulled my socket off my screwdriver before I pulled the screw. And alright, ready to avoid that warranty, guys? There it is. Oh. Alright. So that's all the screws, I believe. Oh, no, I can't feel anything. Whoa, okay, came right apart. That's awesome. Okay, so this is the back of the board. Let's see what that is. Mirror, I believe that would be the controller. I believe Mirror makes the controllers on these things. Will it come out of here? Oh, I think it's actually... I don't know if you can see through there. Oh, you can see through it, but I think there's some sort of thermal... I wouldn't be surprised if there's a pad holding that in, because it's actually not wanting to come out. Yeah, okay. Is there any more screws on it? No more screws. Okay. I'm wondering why it's not popping out. It seriously feels like... I wonder if the DRAM has some sort of cooling on it, and that's why it's not coming out. Oi. Oh yeah, see, it had a cooling pad. Wow, that's really cool. So I imagine that's the... I read what it says there. Toshiba, I'd say that's a memory chip. And yeah, they're the flash storage. So yeah, that's pretty cool. See, obviously it takes up the whole space of the enclosure, and like it's full of chips. Does it have a year on it? Yeah, I think I remember buying this, like, it was at the end, because my birthday's in August, so it was at the end of 2010, I'm pretty sure. I would have just been going into high school. Or maybe I'd been there a year already. But yeah, that's pretty interesting. I'm gonna hook it up to a computer now and benchmark it and just see what the performance is of this chip. So yeah, performance numbers. On the left is the old SSD. It's a Kingston SSDnow 100. It's a 64 gigabyte drive from 2009, 2010. I keep going back and forth on the date on that one. In the middle is a modern SSD that I bought last week. It's a gigabyte somewhat model. It's 240 gigabytes and just over the SATA interface. And on the far right is an NVMe drive, which is a brand new one, a pretty cheap one though. It's an XPG SX 8200 Pro, 256 gigabytes, and it is on the NVMe PCIe bus. It's a PCI 3.0 drive running at 4 lanes. I think XPG is actually ADATA too. I think that's something to note. Anyways, yeah, it's pretty impressive numbers for a cheap NVMe drive, I'll say that much. It's actually right up there with the Samsung, I think they call it the 920s or 930s, whatever the new Samsung SSD is now. But yeah, pretty up there with a performance drive. So anyways, if we look at these numbers, something to note about the old SSD on the left is that it's actually running at SATA, I really get confused with this, SATA 2 speeds? I don't know. It's running at SATA 3 gigabit rather than SATA 6 gigabit. So that's pretty interesting, and probably the reason that it's running at half the performance of the modern SSD. So yeah, so it's always going to be bottlenecked by that system bus. But otherwise, the performance is pretty good. Obviously, once you get right into it, it starts to really slow down, and like compared to the other newer SSDs, the performance degrades pretty fast and pretty severely as well. But it's, you know, working okay. It's fast enough, and it's certainly faster than a hard drive, which I'll insert the numbers for a hard drive now, but much faster than a hard drive. So I've taken it apart, I've run some benchmark numbers, and now I'm going to leave it in its final resting place. My Windows 7 computer. This is an SL410, and it's just sort of a nostalgic machine for me. Jeez, didn't even turn on there the first time. But yeah, this is a SATA 3 interface anyways, and it's currently running a hard drive. So I might as well upgrade it to a 64 gigabyte SSD. That's big enough for Windows 7. I only have a couple games on there anyways, and that's all I can imagine putting on there. So 64 gigabytes is going to be more than enough for this use case in this sort of retro computer. I say retro computer, but this is like 2009. It always does this when it turns on. But yeah, I'll be able to saturate the SATA 3 interface. So that'll be pretty cool. I'll have faster boot times, faster times in Windows. This machine only has 4 gigabytes of RAM, so it's going to be faster caching as well and paging. So yeah, it'd be a big benefit going from a hard drive to this. And I'll actually make a video separately on the changes, upgrading an old laptop with an SSD. Because I remember it was quite a big jump back in the day too. And really, this is sort of where it started almost. It was a different laptop, but it was the same era. So it's sort of resting where it began, sort of thing, which is pretty fun. Alright, there's Windows now. I'll just log on. There we are. So yeah, this will be its final resting place. I'll just run Crystal Disk quickly. Actually, I think it's a portable installation on this computer. Yep. And this will take a while, but I'll skip around to it. Alright, so the numbers just finished there, and as you can see, it's much slower than the SSD. So this is going to be a pretty good home for it. They're both SATA 3 anyways, so, you know, this is probably a perfect fit, really. But yeah, that was a pretty interesting, I don't know, experiment. That's not really the word for it. But just a curiosity. I just wanted to see what was inside there and get some real numbers on it to compare. But yeah, thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you in the next one.